Last time I've analyzed a game called Insane. It's time to analyze the sequel.
Hi everyone, as always Patrick here. If you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on notifications, otherwise YouTube won't tell you if I posted anything. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch until the very end and consider subscribing if you like it.
First things first, I have to answer the most commonly asked question about Insane 2. Is this game related to Insane, an off-road racing game released in the year 2000? And the answer is kind of, but not really. Insane 1 was developed by Invictus Games and published by Codemasters. Insane 2 was developed by Targem Games and published by Game Factory Interactive in the year 2012. Aside from few game modes and few gameplay features, this game has nothing to do with the original Insane. So why is this a sequel? Well, aside from those things I've just mentioned, no one really knows. Okay, the most important question of the day is answered. Time to analyze this game properly. You know how we do things around here. Let's start this analysis video by analyzing the graphics. I know I didn't show you the gameplay yet, but don't worry, the gameplay is coming. Anyway, for a game released in 2012, graphically the game looks pretty good. Everything about the graphics screams high quality, high resolution textures, fantastic effects, great particles, and other stuff like that. It's just a great looking game. Is it the best looking game of 2012? No, but the game still looks pretty good. Sorry for that stutter there. To prove my point, let's compare the graphics of Insane 2 to some of the other racing games that also came out in 2012. In 2012, we had racing games like Dakar 2012 aka Rally Raid, Crash Time 5 Undercover, WRC3, and Dirt Showdown. I could compare the graphics of Insane 2 to more racing games that also came out in 2012, but I've said in my last analysis video that I want to keep these videos short, so that's why I've only compared them to those games. Insane 2 looks way better than Dakar 2012 or Rally Raid, looks better than WRC3, looks just a tiny bit better than Crash Time 5 Undercover, and it looks worse than Dirt Showdown. Now that you can see the gameplay, you have to admit it, the game looks pretty good for 2012. What about the graphical options the game gives you? Well, first of all, I should mention that it's obviously a newer game compared to Insane 1, so it's also more accessible, it's on Steam, and the game is also easier to launch, and the problems with the game are easier to fix. For starters, the game supports widescreen resolutions with small issues. There is anisotropic filtering, there's anti-aliasing, there's VSync if you really need it, and there is no frame rate cap, so the gameplay is going to be smooth. Other graphical options you would expect from a 2012 release are also present here. However, there are two problems with the graphical options. The first one can be fixed, but the second one cannot be fixed. Let's start with the problem that can be fixed. So I've mentioned that the game supports widescreen resolutions with small issues. Well, the small issues, or in this case a small issue, is that some widescreen resolutions can be unlisted sometimes. Thankfully there is a workaround for this. You have to set a custom resolution. All you have to do is go to the configuration files location, edit a CFG file called user underscore config, and once you're there you have to change seta r height and seta r width to the desired resolution. Personally, I didn't encounter this issue, so I didn't have to do anything here, but I at least wanted to mention it here because I've noticed that some people had problems with setting up the resolution for this game. But what about that problem that cannot be fixed? Well, there's no FOV slider, and there's no workaround for it. So that's very bad. What about the game stability? The game didn't crash, didn't stutter, didn't lag, the frame rate didn't drop, I didn't encounter any graphical artifacts or anything like that. So yeah, the PC version or the PC port is very solid. It's missing a few things for it to be perfect though. That's all you need to know about the graphics, so now let's talk about the story. Original Insane, the one from the year 2000, didn't have a story. And Insane 2 doesn't have a story either, so I'm going to completely ignore that part of the video and talk about the gameplay. Just a quick heads up. I will analyze the gameplay for this game the same way as I did it in my original Insane analysis video. But then again, I can say the same thing about every analysis video I make, so... Okay, you know what? This will basically be a huge comparison between this game and Insane. And I might also compare this game to other games that came out in 2012, gameplay wise, of course. With that being said, let's start with the damage model. Insane 1 had a very impressive damage model. Almost everything about the car could be destroyed, which is something that I can't say for other games released in the year 2000. How did the damage model look like in Insane 1? You had dents, you had scratches, parts were falling off, the cars had body flecks on impacts and more. I can't say the same about Insane 2. Now that we know this, what does Insane 2 has to offer in terms of the damage model? Well, you have dents, you have scratches, and sometimes parts will fall off your car, but there's a problem. The damage model in Insane 2 is nowhere near as extreme and impressive as it was in Insane 1. You can also wreck your car, but in order to repair the car, you can just simply recover the car, so what's the point? The damage model may look visually better compared to Insane 1, but it lacks that passion from Insane 1. Okay, but how does the damage model compare to other racing games that also came out in 2012? I'm going to compare it to the same games I used in the graphics section. Well, it definitely looks better than most of those games. The only exception to this is Crash Time 5 Undercover. I actually think Crash Time 5 Undercover has a way better damage model compared to Insane 2. What can I say? The damage model in Insane 2 exists. Let's talk about the physics. The physics are somewhat similar to Insane 1, except they're not as good. The grip is there, but the cars are now more lightweight, they also rarely flip. The game seems to have an auto balance system, but I'm not entirely sure. And just like with the damage model, it lacks that passion from Insane 1. Now I'm not saying that the physics in Insane 2 are bad. They are definitely there. They are functional. However, I think that the main issue with the physics is the fact that this game is designed differently compared to Insane 1. More on that in just a second. First, we need to talk about the handling. Once I do that, you will understand what I mean when I say that this game was designed differently from Insane 1. In the first Insane game, the handling was a bit vague and could easily put you into a lazy, irretrievable spin. Insane 2 changes everything. It plays much more like an arcade high-speed race game rather than the semi-sim or sim game that the first game was. But what does that mean? It means that you are dealing with arcade handling and arcade forces. I said I wouldn't repeat myself, but it looks like I have to do it, so let me say this one more time. The cars are grippy, they are lightweight, they don't have a lot of downforce. The cars rarely flip, and again, I think there is an auto balance system, but again, I'm not sure. There's not much I can say about the handling. Just like everything else in this game, it just exists. I guess now it's time to talk about the cars and the tracks, huh? Let's start with the tracks. The tracks are well designed. Not very well designed, like most games. They're just well designed. Almost every track feature from Insane 1 carried over to Insane 2, surprisingly. There are bumps on the road, there are hills you can climb, but when you compare those games to each other, in Insane 2, you can do everything at high speeds. The thing is, all those features that carry over are somehow designed in a worse way, and in this game they're just not threatening at all. Remember the times when your car suffered when you rode it over bumps in Insane 1? Do you also remember the times in Insane 1 when you struggled to climb up a hill? This is not a problem at all in Insane 2. In Insane 2, when you drive over bumps or where you're trying to climb up hills, you can just shrug it off and don't care. Sometimes the game just gives you ramps to help you go over them. And this brings us to the whole design problem I mentioned earlier. Despite the fact that the name of the game is Insane 2, which is supposed to be, a sequel to Insane, I mean, it kinda is, but it has nothing to do with the original Insane. It doesn't really feel like original Insane, except for some game modes and maybe some gameplay features, like I've said. If anything, this game feels like a cheap MotorStorm copy for PC, but without the chaos. That's why everything in Insane 2 feels so dumbed down, especially the tracks and the cars. Speaking of cars, while they are easier to control, they just don't feel as fun and as wacky as the cars from the original Insane, or just Insane 1. Insane 2, just like Insane 1, has many car categories. In Insane 2 you can drive rally cars, SUVs, prototypes and more. Insane 2 even has car classes, free car classes to be exact. There are cars that specialize in speed, cars that specialize in acceleration, and cars that specialize in the handling department. The cars can also be upgraded in multiple ways. You can upgrade their speed, the handling, and the durability. So technically every car is different from each other, and they can also be customized in certain ways. So what's the problem? I miss those wacky and silly vehicles. Yeah, the car roster is pretty boring. Remember in Insane 1 when you had the gnu or the zebra, or you could fly the aeroplane or the airplane? Yeah, there's nothing like that in Insane 2. Here's a quick advice to every single racing game developer. Please include wacky and silly cars. They make every racing game so much fun. But I will give the game one thing. The cars definitely feel different from each other, just like in Insane 1. So the game also recommends you checking out other cars. And I can't fault the game for doing that. I would do the same thing too. That's cool and all, but I've mentioned so many times that this game doesn't feel like an insane game anymore. So what is Insane 2 actually about? Insane 1 was primarily an off-road racing game, by which I mean often trying to drive up near vertical climbs. It wasn't really a traditional racing game. Insane 2 is much more traditional compared to Insane 1, but it's not really a true rally game or a rally raid game. This is more like an arcade off-road experience. Insane 1 also tried to switch things up very often. Normal races in Insane 1 were rarely a thing. The main focus of Insane 1 was multi-car races, thrashing across the landscape after flags or checkpoints, etc. In Insane 2, however, normal races are much more common. There are things like capture the flag races or hold the flag races or have the flag and drive through checkpoints kind of races, but they are actually pretty rare compared to Insane 1. In Insane 2, high-speed nitro and belting about the landscape trying not to wreck are the orders of the day. Oh right, I forgot about the nitro. The nitro is, well, a nitro. If you've played any racing game in your life that includes a nitro, you know how this works, so I'm not even going to explain what it does. Okay, so for the last time, what do you do in this game? You race, you unlock new cars, you upgrade them, and the cycle repeats itself. I think that explains why Insane 2 doesn't feel like Insane 1 at all. I guess I can talk about other things now, like the sense of speed. Yeah, the sense of speed is good in this game. It's not amazing, but it's good. Every time I play this game, I always feel like I'm going fast. But even then, the sense of speed has some problems. More on that later. Or should I say more about that now? Because I actually don't have anything else to say about this game, except for the bad qualities of the game. So I guess right now I'll talk about the bad qualities of the game. Oh, hi, PatrykThePro from the future here. It turns out when I was talking about the damage model, I forgot to talk about a very important thing, so I'm going to quickly talk about it right now before we get to the bad qualities of the game. The damage doesn't affect the car's performance at all. That's it, that's all I have to say. Patrick the Pro from the future, out. The first bad quality of the game is the fact that there's no time attack mode. You know, the most basic feature of every racing game ever. You're always racing at least one rival vehicle. Another problem with the game is that there are only two camera positions, both from behind the car. While it's not a problem for me because I actually like playing racing games with the camera behind the car, but if you're one of those people that prefers to play racing games using a cockpit view or the hood view or the bumper view, for example, well, you can't do that here, so you have to deal with it. Third problem, there's no speedometer. You never know how fast you're going. Fourth problem, in knockout races, there's no timer. You don't know how much time you have left before someone or you gets eliminated. Fifth problem, the AI has rubber band AI. I don't think I need to explain why this is a bad thing. Honestly, I could point out more bad qualities of the game, but I think my job here is done. In conclusion, Insane 2 is a sequel to Insane that has almost nothing to do with the original Insane. It doesn't feel like a rally game, it doesn't even feel like a rally raid game. If anything, this feels like a cheap MotorStorm clone, but without the chaos. I know I've said this before, but I think it fits here. Yeah. Sorry for those pauses there. Did I enjoy my time with the game? Yes. Is it worth buying? Maybe on sale. Speaking of which, as I'm uploading this video, there's a sale going on right now. So now you can get the game pretty cheap. So what can I say? You can buy it, but don't expect the same quality, or should I say amazing quality, compared to Insane 1. The game is available on Steam and the sale is happening on Steam right now, so what can I say? Go buy the game and have fun.
But that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say in this analysis video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Just